Want to know 5 keys to finding carbs that will help you control blood sugar? Watch this video and learn the 5 C's of finding healthy carbs. In a previous video, I described the great carbohydrate myth and why most health experts have it wrong about carbohydrates. To see this video, subscribe to this channel at askdrshintani.com and look for my previous videos about carbs.
Dr. Terry Shintani, Director of Preventive Medicine and Formula.
Hi, this is Dr. Shintani for your health. Some years ago, I appeared in a full-page article in Newsweek because I was getting people with diabetes off as much as 80 units of insulin in as little as 5 days. What stunned a lot of people was that I was doing it with a high-carb diet. While it took a whole-person approach to do this, one of the most important factors in doing this was how I chose carbohydrates that help to control blood sugar. There are 5 keys to finding good carbs. I call them the 5 C's. Number 5 is the most important. The first C is carbohydrate type. No, I'm not talking simple versus complex carbohydrates. It turns out that simple versus complex carbs is not a good way to choose carbs, as I explained in my previous videos. What I mean by carbohydrate type is that within simple carbs, you should understand that fructose raises blood sugar less than glucose. This is one reason why it's better to get sweets by eating fruit instead of candy, a sweet roll, or a soft drink. And by the way, high fructose corn syrup used in soft drinks is still almost half glucose. Also, among starches, a type of starch known as amylose is better than amylopectin. Amylose is better because it's broken down more slowly and doesn't raise blood sugar as much as amylopectin. Why is this important? Long grain rice has a lot more amylose than short grain rice and therefore has a lower glycemic index number. Short grain white rice has a glycemic index number of 87. Long grain white rice has a glycemic number of 59. The second C is calorie density. I also call this the mass index of food, or Dr. Shintani's mass index. This is important because if the food is low in calorie density, you'll likely eat fewer calories of it, and even if it has a higher glycemic index number, the total effect on your blood sugar will be less. For example, white bread has a glycemic number of 70. Carrots have a glycemic index number of 71. But one slice of bread has 15 grams of carbs in it, compared to a whole carrot that has only 7 grams of carbs. So the effect on your blood sugar will be less with the carrot simply because you typically eat fewer carbs from a carrot than you would from eating bread. This concept of glycemic index number times the number of grams of carbs is called glycemic load. In other words, the total effect on your blood sugar depends on the glycemic index of a food times the number of grams of carbs from that food that you actually consume. Foods that have a lower calorie density will be better for blood sugar control because you'll consume fewer carbs from this food at a sitting, and therefore its total effect on your blood sugar will be less. You'll find a convenient table of calorie density in the form of my food mass index table at the back of my Peace Diet book, which you can find at www.peacediet.org. The third C is content of fiber. Fiber is important because not only does it contribute to lower calorie density, but it also slows down the absorption of carbs. Rice is a good example. Medium grain brown rice has a glycemic number of 76. But if you mill off the fiber coating and eat medium grain white rice, the glycemic number rises to 87. In other words, the fiber on the coating of the rice slowed down the absorption of carbs significantly. The fourth C is composition of the meal. What you eat with a carbohydrate food also plays a major role in your blood sugar. For example, if you eat a lot of vegetables with rice, the effect of the rice on your diet will be blunted by the fiber in the vegetables. Also, sour tasting components of food, such as vinegar, tends to slow down the absorption of carbs. This is why sourdough white bread has a glycemic index number of 52, that is much lower than the glycemic number of regular white bread, whose glycemic number is 70. This is also why vinegar is a good component of salad dressings, because it'll help to slow the absorption of carbs that you eat at that same meal. The fifth and most important C is character. By character, I mean whether the carbohydrate is processed or unprocessed. A good example is wheat. Whole wheat eaten as a whole grain, like the way rice is eaten, is called bulgur wheat. It has a glycemic index number of 48. As white bread, wheat has a glycemic index number of 70. As commercially processed whole wheat bread, it still has a high glycemic number of 69, mainly because commercially processed flour is very fine and it is digested quickly and turns into sugar very fast. But if it is stone ground bread, the carbs from the flour is absorbed more slowly and has a glycemic number of just 43. This is because the particles of stone ground wheat flour are much larger than commercial flour and are digested much more slowly. This concept also applies to fruit and fruit juice. Whole fruit is better than the same amount of carbs from fruit juice. To see why, take a look at my previous post called Why Juicing is Bad. Now you might ask why stone ground bread is a little better than bulgur wheat. In my next video about carbs, I will show you a clever carb hack that can lower glycemic index numbers. I'll explain a little trick on how to reduce the effect of carbs on your blood sugar. To see this video, please subscribe to this channel and click on the bell for notifications to get notified of this future video. This is Dr. Shintani for your health.